There's like maybe 40,000 agencies, and let's say there's 2 people in each company that can transact. So you have 80,000 people. So we're targeting 140 million people, but our ads are reaching the right 80.
And we are back on the Money, Mindset, and Mentoring podcast. We're super excited today to have Robert Brill of brillmedia.co. And Robert is the founder and the absolute rock star who was featured in Fast Company, Inc. 5000, ranked as the fastest growing company of 2023. Not once, not twice, but thrice shall he be there. He's been featured in Business Insider and Forbes magazine. So if we could we add any more titles to go to the beginning of your name there, Robert?
No, this is great. This is great. Thank you.
and so Robert does a great job of helping companies as well as other ad and marketing agencies on a white label perspective be able to build and scale their business through buying ads and doing it in an effective way that produces results.
100%. Yeah, we buy advertising space to typically generate leads and sales for clients.
Beautiful. Now, one of the things that people always do when they look at the ad space, and I mean, we get all these advertising people who reach out all the time. We're going to give you leads, and we're going to give you this, and
Right.
you know, and they never seem like sometimes they hit the mark, and then sometimes they miss the mark. How do you create such consistency to be a 3-year champion at the fastest growing company? You've got to be doing something right. So, what are you doing differently that other people are not doing?
Yeah, I mean, it all starts with a standard operating procedure, really being able to set processes down, give our really excellent, amazing, smart team an opportunity to succeed. Because we've been in a position in the past where we had really great people, but the business didn't set them up for success. So we hire senior people, very talented, professional, like their focus is advertising. They're not going to be in real estate next year and crypto the year after that. And then really focusing on empowering them to be successful. We offer search, social, and then display advertising. So we're media agnostic. That's also very helpful. So I'm not here to specifically sell Facebook ads or Google or whatever. We want to start with a strategy and then deploy after that.
So what would be a typical strategy for your perfect client? What would that look like? How would you roll that out?
Yeah, I mean, the strategy is really comprised of understanding your customer, like who are you reaching, what are the characteristics of the people that you're reaching, understanding the economics of those people, and then understanding the business goals that our client will have, and then backtracking all of that into advertising channels that will achieve those goals. One of the key things here is to have a testing framework, because advertising is a real-time focus group. We want performance. We need to grow the business, but also secondly, we need to drive insights so that the business becomes smarter about who they're reaching in the marketplace and how effectively they're reaching them. But ultimately, if there's one thing you take away from this, it's likes, comments, and shares do not pay the bills. You need to keep your team busy, especially your accounting team busy. So focus on sales.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And you hit a couple of nuggets there. The first thing is that advertising is a real-time focus group.
Yeah.
And I think that's something where when you make that focus group around that perfect avatar and you really hone in on that with a really rock solid strategy, you're going to do exactly what you said you're going to do. Is you're going to make the bean counters counting lots of beans rather than counting likes. And I think that's probably the more important thing when you're looking at a business strategy, because I think that's where a lot of these social media companies really fall by the wayside. It says, look, you got 15,000 followers. Right. You got 100,000 followers. You got 1 million followers, but nobody's buying anything.
100%.
And so it's the idea of having that strategy of what is that actually giving you as a result.
Yeah. And, if you have engagement as a stepping stone for retargeting, for example, people who follow your page are going to be people who have a propensity to buy. So as a short-term metric, you'd want to look at engagement. But as a business metric, you're not looking at engagement. So for example, right now there are ads running on TikTok for TikTok. um, uh, produced by TikTok, right? Saying, hey, we've been stuck at 200 or 300 views on our videos, but boy, I got like 40,000 views on my videos just by running ads to get views on my videos. And that's only applicable if you have a larger strategy in place to turn those views into sales. But as a standalone, those views are not going to be particularly worthwhile other than a personal dopamine hit or showing social proof. And we can't pay our bills on social proof and dopamine hits.
Yeah, I tried to go to the bank the other day to pay my mortgage with likes and subscribes, and for some reason they didn't do the currency exchange. I
It's
don't
so
know why.
weird.
So when we talk about the idea of, we put out those ads, whether it be in Facebook, TikTok, any other platforms that you're part of, we can talk about the different platforms. Um, do you have a specific strategy that you use to kind of focus in on which platform, whether it's physical or digital or any of the different platforms out
Yeah,
there?
I mean, there's a few ways, a few shortcuts to really understand this for anyone who's not like a digital advertising practitioner. So the shortcut is 45% of all digital advertising in 2024 will be on Meta and Google. So chances are you should probably be on Meta and Google. Um, so, but we're agnostic, right? So we're not tied to just those two platforms. So when we think about a marketing strategy, there's a few things that we consider. Is your product or service visual? If it's visual, then you want to do some sort of display advertising, so some sort of Meta or banner ads or video ads on like Hulu or online video. That's sort of one characteristic. If you can um, search for a product or service and then people can immediately buy, like, I need flowers for Valentine's Day, um, and then you see ads for flower shops, okay, that's very transactional. You definitely want to run search ads. So the one component here is understanding the right places to be. If you're highly dependent on location, so for example, let's say you're a CPG advertiser, consumer products goods, and you're selling at 10 Walmarts in Los Angeles County, and that's it. I can isolate ads to people who walk into those 10 Walmarts in Los Angeles County by doing hyperlocal advertising. That's another tactic. So really you can think of it as we have an arsenal of opportunities available to us. Your business, your business goals, or we can extract that information out of you through a series of questions. And ultimately, we can come back to you with a set of tactics that we know work based on your needs at this moment in time. And that's how we sort of formulate an advertising strategy.
Yeah. So to hit the beginning of that conversation, I think was something that I really want people to hone in on is the idea when you're doing the advertising, there's different style of advertising. There's the search advertising, which is I'm out there specifically looking for a painter. Or I'm
Right.
out there looking for a plumber.
Right.
Then there is the interrupt advertising, which is I'm just scrolling and trolling and whatever shows up comes in front of me. And that's the interrupt advertising.
Right.
And did I summarize those
100,
too well?
100%. 100%. I mean, advertising is fundamentally interruptive, but if it's positive or engaging or entertaining or some way utilitarian, then it's far more resonant among consumers.
And then to move into the next one where we're really trying to get that hyper focus, let's talk a little bit about that one because that one always is exciting to me. It's the idea of really focusing. I've got a client right now who does something called meal in a jar. And
Yeah.
what she does is she's, distributes these meals in a jar. They're, really healthy. They got a 9-day shelf life because they have nothing that is toxic in them. And she's got a very close proximity. So for her, this would be something that's hugely valuable. And so talk to me about what she might do when she's putting this out into her sphere. Like how would she go
Yeah.
to that geo focus?
Yeah. 100%. So with geo-targeting or hyperlocal targeting, you can get down to targeting a specific storefront. So for example, healthy foods. So if there's a set of yoga places or juice bars in the neighborhood, people who walk into those locations might be the exact target audience for people who are going to buy the meal in a jar. So your idea then would be serve up ads to people who went to those locations with your message. So that's number one. Number two, you can, and that's typically described as place-based retargeting or location retargeting. Another way to do hyperlocal advertising is to understand a central point and draw a radius around it. So, for example, if the delivery area for this meal in a jar service is 2 miles around an address, let's say, that would be where the ads can run. Because if you're 10 miles out, then you might be interested, but you can't buy it, or you're very unlikely to be full, going to a 10-mile area to buy the product or to get the delivery, whatever the case is. So you really have the ability to understand your trade area and service that trade area really granularly. And you can also track for different types of locations or different types of businesses. You can actually track when people, like for tourism, for example, we run ads where if people are within a 2-hour drive of our particular location, they will be eligible to see our ad. And then we can track when they go to our tourism destination physically on their phone, like they saw an ad on their phone and they physically were there. So that's another method of tracking conversion value because that's relevant for that business.
Okay.
So when we talk about successful advertising, it's really about understanding what you need to measure so that you can turn that into dollars. And in this case, tourism, you can track visits.
I love the idea that when you first hit the idea of the yoga studio and saying, I'm going to target people who go to that yoga studio with advertising from my natural foods grocery store, because I know that my vision and is in alignment with theirs. And so when they
100%.
see that ad, it's going to be something that's going to speak to my audience rather than just slamming everybody with it so that the person who's going to McDonald's isn't really going to think that hyper expensive green grocery store is going to be within their purview. Maybe it is
100%.
because it's time to make a change, but generally speaking, you're aligning with the vision of your perfect avatar.
Yeah, low-hanging fruit, much easier to target.
Yeah, because then your ROI is going to be so much higher by hitting that low-hanging fruit.
100%.
Beautiful. And what with the ROI? Talk to me a little bit about, what are people's expectations when they come in and they're looking at return? Are they looking for a specific time frame return, a specific number? What do you typically see for people as they start to analyze metrics?
Absolutely. So we want to understand what the market wants from them at this very moment. So if you've never done marketing, there is no baseline. If you have done marketing in the past or advertising in the past, and you have a baseline, then we'll go off of that baseline. But if that hasn't been measured, then we, especially for smaller businesses, they know that they're growing, but they don't know why or how they're growing. So our job is really to understand a set of tests, to set up a set of tests such that we can then understand what works. So for example, when we'll run an advertising campaign for the meal in a jar, it's, number one, the hyperlocal. Number two, we're probably also doing meta advertising. Number three, we're probably also doing Google advertising if the budget permits. And then we might be doing a fourth tactic of sort of general banners to people in the larger geographic area, like let's say 2 miles, but who are on pages about healthy foods or dieting or something like that. So those are 4 different opportunities to understand the best out of the 4. So I'm not just betting on one horse. I'm betting on 4. And then we optimize the campaign by creative, by platform, by time, by seasonality, etc. So then we get to say, look, maybe Hyperlocal does a 2 return on ad spend, but Meta does a 3. And then we can say, well, do we like, and 2 might be okay, by the way, because here's the other thing that's really important, is that all these channels work together. When you start a consumer journey, when people start to become aware of your business, they don't often immediately transact in that moment. But then like a day and a half later, they'll see the second or third ad, they'll go to Google, and your search engine optimization, your SEO will improve because you've created more journeys. So we're really looking at this holistically because I'm really interested in growing the business. I'm not interested in taking credit for, look how good our Facebook ads did or our hyperlocal ads did. I want sales, not credit.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. I think the idea of focusing on numbers and saying that, look, if you don't have a benchmark, Mark, we're going to help you build a benchmark for success.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's extremely important, that anything that you do should have a KPI tied to it. Because if there's, and when I say KPI, it's key performance indicators. Because if it doesn't have that, why are you doing it? And how can you measure success? It's kind of like playing a game of football and not tracking the score. And it's always good to have that score to make sure that we know if we're winning.
Yeah, I mean, I really, it's a shame to me when I see business owners doing things like boosting posts on Meta, because that's the easy button, and the easy button is not going to give you the results that you're looking for. Chances are there's no strategy there. You don't have the tools and levers to make Meta work really effectively for you. I've literally had clients tell us, um, we want to boost this post because we paid money to create it and we want people to see it. But like, why? Why is that? What if that's like the worst ad you have? Like, there's no matrix for creative testing. There's no matrix for understanding what works and what doesn't. You're just literally putting money in because it exists. We create lots of ads, especially on Meta. We create lots of ads, and those ads are tested. And our framework, our creative testing framework on Meta is you create 5 ads a month. That's it. It's actually quite easy to do for a business owner, and certainly we can do that for our clients. And those 5 ads are comprised of headlines, images or video, and text. But you have 15 different elements, 5 times 5 times 5. What you end up is with 125 possible ad variations. So by creating 5, you actually have 125 ads. But you're not going to spend thousands of dollars or tens of thousands running ads on 125 ads. You use science, control and variable testing, powered by Meta's algorithm, to find the one ad out of the 125 that is the absolute best. And you repeat that cycle monthly, and you start to learn about what customers want from your business and which offers and products and services really resonate. So I don't want to just run ads because I don't want to spend money on ads because we created it. I want to use the best ads and amplify those with advertising.
That is a strategy straight out of one of my favorite, which is Russell Brunson. He
Yeah,
talks a lot about that, which is the idea of a lot of people really just focusing on the one thing that they've created rather
yeah,
than creating a multitude of things and then picking the winning horse. And then
100%.
that horse will win for a while, but then it might just become the lagger, and then you got to pick the next winning horse and really
Right.
double down.
And what you want to do over time is you're continuously testing which of your winners. So we call the winners the all-stars. Those are your all-star ads. So at the end of 6 months of doing this, you'll have 6 all-star ads. There's going to be a winner among the 6, but you can keep all 6 running. And what you're going to end up seeing is most of your leads and sales or visits, in the case of a tourism advertiser, will come from 1 or 2 of those ads. And you get those insights. So this pairs up these ideas of, it's a real-time focus group. You're understanding which creative is your best, not because you say it's the best, because the market says it's the best. The last component of this is broad targeting, which is on Meta, age, gender, and location. So this is very different. This is the exact opposite of hyperlocal. So for a B2B services company like ours, our broad location is the entire United States. Our age is 25 to 65, which is typically working age. Although, certainly people younger than 25, 25 can work with us, but most of them are going to be over 25. And then gender, men and women. So those are the broad parameters of people can work with us. And the reason that works, and the reason we're getting leads that turn into sales for both ourselves and our clients, is because Meta is really good at matching your ad with the person who wants that message. So, like when you're talking about white label media buying or outsourced media buying, you're talking about maybe targeting 80,000 people in the United States. There's like maybe 40,000 agencies, and let's say there's 2 people in each company that can transact. So you have 80,000 people. So we're targeting 140 million people, but our ads are reaching the right 80,000.
And
And that's
that's
the power of Meta.
is that
Yeah.
using the new AI stuff that's been built into Meta for so that they target, so you don't have to be as specific on the audience? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, that's been so it's definitely AI, right? It's the algorithm, right? Meta has 10 or 20 years of data on all of us. It knows our patterns, it knows our lifestyles, our behaviors, etc. So we were doing this before the big AI boom, but that's because Meta has been doing this for like the last 7-ish years. So the idea is when you look at keyword targeting and interest targeting on Meta, along with lookalike and retargeting, there's a few reasons why those don't work as well. And primarily it's because Meta has built a platform that doesn't want you to use those capabilities. They still offer them, but that comes from the old world of advertising when you run Google search ads and you're targeting like 10 keywords or something, or programmatic, or display advertising where you're targeting audience data segments. So the people who bought media and continue to buy media understood this granularity targeting, but the trend is more towards algorithmic targeting. And you're seeing that across Google, Meta, and TikTok, for example, where you're asked to provide a lot of different creative executions and broad targeting parameters and let the platform find your customers as long as it has some pixel data for it to learn off of, like who has bought in the past, or which are the people who generated leads in the past. So with Meta, by doing broad targeting and creative testing, the output is you're training Meta's machine learning algorithm to find your best customers.
That
And
makes
that's the
total
real
sense.
power there. Yeah.
Now, and it's funny because you talk about pixels, and this is one of those things about you can do it yourself in all of these things that you're talking about right now. An individual can do it yourself. But I know I was in Meta the other day trying to find where they moved pixel to, and they moved it from one spot to another spot that's not labeled pixel. It's labeled
Right.
something else. And it took
Yeah.
me, I think, like a few hours just to find the damn thing.
Oof.
And so the idea of having somebody who's doing it, who does it every day,
Yeah.
versus you who has a full-time job, whether you're running your painting company, you're a real estate agent, to go
Yeah.
back in there and try to figure that out, or hiring your VA to do it, who
Right.
maybe is just following the script that you've given them,
Right.
versus the professional who's doing it. It's a very big difference in results.
I mean, it's like a car, right? Like we're all familiar with how to drive cars. Well, most of us are, some better than others, but but and some are more aggressive and some are less aggressive. And we all are familiar about how to drive cars, but most of us are very unfamiliar with how to fix a car. And that's the analogy with advertising. Like, you come to me with a broken fender. I might not even know what a fender is. You come to me with a hammer and a broken fender, I will just damage the car even further. And so that's what you're doing when you're not so you spend your money, you go to a mechanic, you pay them a load of money, and your car is fixed and you don't have to worry about it. The same thing with advertising. We're all very familiar with these platforms. We consume them every day, we use them, but most of us are not experts in how to use it, which is why a company like mine can exist, because that's all we do every day and we understand the ins and outs and make it work for our clients.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, always go to the professional, in my opinion. I mean, one of the things, speaking of professionals, I'm going to an event with Keller Williams, a family reunion, in a week or so, and I'm going to be talking to a lot of real estate agents about advertising, about marketing, and all of that's going to be the hot topic going into 2024, because it's been a really tough 2023 for a lot of real estate agents.
Yeah.
And if you were talking to a real estate agent saying, "Hey, here's a strategy for you to enable." We talked a little bit about the meal in the jar people. Let's hit this
hmm
category, your real estate agents. What would be
hmm
the top things that you would say for them to really hone in on?
You've got to build facial awareness, and you can put your face on bus seats, bus benches, and people are gonna like sit where your face is. Or you could run advertising, on which bus benches are advertising. You can run digital advertising on like Meta, for example, where people are spending most of their time. And when you get enough facial awareness, people start to want to work with you. And you like, here's the thing with real estate, like, and with a lot of businesses, you've got to be able to have the longevity. So you're not looking to run ads for 15 days and you're a millionaire, right? That's not how this works. Advertising is a practice. It's a way, and when we say practice, it's something that needs to evolve and iterate and improve over time. So we know how to do advertising. The question is, does the market want what you have? Do people want to work with you? Are you saying the right things? Do you have the right offers? And that's how we iteratively test to understand what compels and motivates people to reach out to you. That's the intricacy. So the work is not placing the Facebook ad, although for some people it is. Just placing a Facebook ad is, you're probably going to do it wrong, especially if you boost a post. But let's say you know how to boost a post. Let's say you know how to run an ad in Meta's Facebook Business Manager. Do you have the pixel? Are you testing? Are you testing different offers or different ways of talking about your business? Are you testing different images? Like, the hard work is not actually pressing start. It's all the work that happened up to that point and all the work that happens after that point. That's the hard work.
Yeah. It's interesting. I every time you mention this about, I always think about jujitsu. I love Brazilian jiu-jitsu. It's one of my favorite things to do. I've been doing it for 10 years. And it's the same sort of thing that when you think about fighting in MMA and jiu-jitsu and all these things, is that a lot of people really think that they're a really good fighter until they actually meet somebody who's a professional fighter. And, they're like, oh, I just go red and I'm amazing. And it's like, and that'll work for about 30 seconds. And the professional fighter will just, weather that storm. And now they're going to take you to task. And, when people come into jiu-jitsu, the first thing they want to do is they want to win right away. And it's just like, as you said, it's the long game. You're first going to get the fundamentals going. And that might be the offer, is what we're talking about, is that, we at least have something that we can present. And then we're going to test it, which is the beautiful thing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, is that you can test things in a live scenario. And so now you're testing it and you're retesting it, you're testing, you're finding out, well, I thought I knew how to do an arm bar, or I thought I knew how to, create an offer, and it really was terrible. And so now I've got to redo that and put that out. But because, as you said, the idea is that you're running a live feedback loop at all times. It's the same thing that happens in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, is when you can train at full capacity, you're running a live feedback. So they're very adjacent in the way that you can look at the success. And Jiu-Jitsu is one of those things that you can't get successful in 3 months. You can become okay. Even if you're the most skilled athlete, you come in, you're totally jacked, you're young, you're virile, you've got lots of energy. That tactician who's been doing it for 10 years is going to walk all over you.
100%.
And the same thing applies in the marketing space.
It's like team sports as well, right? Like the practice, the off season of practice is what is the hard work. And then you're playing the game, and that's, you're playing football, the one game a week. Like, that's the icing. That's your benefit. That's not the hard work. Yeah. And so it's like all that practice that leads up to the point where you press start is going to be important here. There's a lot of analogies here. And it's funny because there's so many business owners who offer a very specific B2B service, for example, or even business to consumer service, who understand the value of their work, but don't understand the value of working with other practitioners who, accounting, for example. Who wants to do accounting? I don't want to do accounting. So hire an accountant, like that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think too many times people try to do everything and don't realize that when they're doing everything, they're really doing nothing. And that's a very tough thing. So for people to reach out to you, Brill Media, BRILL media.co is the best way to get a hold of you, and to talk about their media buying experience and really setting a journey for success for themselves. Because I really like the idea that you're really honed in on, first of all, work on a strategy and then implement and test. I think that to me is, and then going for the long haul, I think is a really great mindset to have.
Has to be. Long-term strategy is what's going to drive success.
Well, Robert, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I really appreciate the time that you've invested today. And I know there's been a lot of really great nuggets that have been dropped for people to think about. And thank you very much for spending time with us today.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Awesome. With that, guys, we are on to the next episode of the Money, the Mindset, and the Money Mindset and Mentoring podcast. We'll see you on the next one.